What do you know? We made it back for another edition of the Audible on this Wednesday afternoon. Good morning or good morning. I just said afternoon and I said good morning. It's going to be one of those kind of days, I can tell you. But anyway, thanks for joining us in the Audible. If you're watching us on Periscope, you're able to send your questions in via Twitter. Just hashtag the Audible. You can see us on a rebroadcast beginning tomorrow on the Miami Dolphins Facebook page, as well as MiamiDolphins.com. Joining me from the South Florida Sun Sentinel, Chris Perkins. Your second time here, Perk. You're going to be a veteran.
Oh, yeah.
Audible.
I like it, man. Yeah. I can't believe y'all have me back.
Yeah,
so,
well, you know we couldn't find anyone else
today.
Right.
Exactly.
Which is usually the case why they have. Usually when I get involved in something, it's because they couldn't find anybody else. So. You know, I don't want to be involved with somebody else that's in the same ilk. You
exactly.
Know what I mean?
Happy to be here, Bo. Happy I can help out, man.
First of all, before we go, Perk, you need to do me a favor. You need to bring out your phone. Let me see your cell phone.
Oh, so, come on,
Let me see your cell phone. We are.
Really gonna do
we
this?
are going to do this.
Look
at this now. Here's a guy. He probably makes, six figures a year.
Yeah.
Maybe even more. High six figures.
Right.
And look at his phone. Let me see your fingernail. Your fingers like cut up and slashed and stuff.
Here's what happened. Here's the story on this phone now. Last year, we're in San Diego, and I'm going through the metal detector to get into the game, and, they've got my computer bag. I'm holding the phone like this to get wanded. The phone drops. And the guy looks at me and he goes, "Is that your phone?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, you didn't even need to take it out of your pocket." So now, Bo, after like a couple of weeks, I went to a couple of places and the Apple places too crowded, etc. After a while, I said, "You know what? I'm going to take it a year. I'm going to take it a year because it's a good story." Everybody.
So that Scotch tape, you fixed it with Scotch tape? Is that what you did?
Actually, Gail Baden from the Dolphins did this. So this is Gail from the Dolphins Media Relations Office. So December 20th, this thing gets changed out, but not before then. It's making it a whole year.
It's gone December 20th. I got
December 20th.
All right. Well, here we are, Perk. 7-4, 3 games over 500 with his football team. And I got to believe that this game against Baltimore is the most critical game that this team has played all year long.
Yeah, and they're only going to get bigger. But yes, because one thing, Bo, is when you look at these final 5 games and where the Dolphins are, they're 7-4, tied with Denver, but ahead of them because of virtue of better conference record. Dolphins are 5-3, Broncos are 4-3. Really, if you want to start ranking games that you could afford to lose, it's the Arizona game, right? Because they're the NFC team.
Yes.
So. Yeah, must win, whatever you want to classify this as. And
I don't think it's a must win, but I mean, from a standpoint of being a critical, important football game, and it leads to the second question, playing critical, important games in December is where every player in the NFL wants to play in big games in December. There's nothing like it. And they put themselves in that position now. Big game here, and you go through the rest of this month, every game on the schedule from here on out, and I know they're a week-to-week team, but every team on this schedule, you can win. You can get your butt handed to you by them. It can go either way for every game throughout the rest of the season. And you talk about Arizona, when you come back after this game, there's been a very, very disappointing season for Bruce Arians and Arizona. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what, they got a lot of good players in that football team, and they can jump up and really put a beating on you if you don't pay attention.
Yeah, and look, Bo, when you look at what you're facing week to week, Baltimore – number 1 against the run. This is the second time they're playing the number 1 run team because the Jets were the number 1 run team. David Johnson, the running back for Arizona, what is he rushing-wise? He's top 5 or whatever he is. So there's your threat there. The Jets, again, a tough run defense team.
Right.
Buffalo, Shady McCoy and Rex Ryan, and then you finish up with New England. I mean, there's pitfalls everywhere, but the one thing about the Dolphins that is – to me, really made them a unique team in the NFL this year is the way they found ways to win, Bo. And I think we talked about this last time I was on here. Against the Jets, it's the special teams, and then against the Rams, it's Ryan Tannehill and the offense. San Diego, the 4 fourth quarter interceptions. They keep finding different ways to win. Jay Ajayi rushes for 45 yards. That's all right. Tannehill will throw 3 touchdowns, and they'll only allow 1 sack. And so the different ways that this team finds to win, they're very creative, they're very innovative, and so you just can't count them out. So I'm very interested to see not only what games they win, but how they win them relating to health and what the defense gives you, et cetera.
We had Adam Beasley on the other day, and Adam kept going, well, the Dolphins are getting their breaks this year. Well, my counter would be no. I think they're making their breaks this year. They're taking advantage of opportunities have been in front of this football team for the last decade or so. They just haven't grasped them and made them their own. Now they're making the plays that are making differences in games. And Chris, you've been around here long enough and seen this team long enough to know that in the past, those chances, those opportunities, the Kiko Alonso interception, maybe the guy gets his hands on it, but he probably drops the interception, and you're sitting there going, "Wow, what a shoulda, coulda, woulda." Those types of things. Kenyon Drake with the kickoff return. You get stopped at the 20 or something, and you go, "Oh, geez, there's here we are again." But so they're making their breaks and getting the opportunity to win. I'm with you. How are they going to win a football game this week? How are they going to find a way to win a football game? Are they going to if they're going to be behind in the fourth quarter again? Are they going to be able to stage another comeback and make that happen? But I think that's one of the things that's interesting about this football team. You don't know who it's going to be. You don't know how they're going to do it. You don't know when it's going to happen. But more times than not, someone is making the plays that make differences in these football games.
Yeah, and when you look at even the plays that they're making, the Ryan Tannehill pass to Devontae Parker in L.A., that has to be a low outside fastball where only Devontae couldn't be anywhere else. He does it. The Kenny Stills touchdown pass, right? Same deal. The safety is coming up. He took a bad angle, but that pass has to be on the outside. Ryan Tannehill puts it there. You talk about the Kiko Alonso interception, and against San Diego where fourth quarter interceptions in the past, maybe you don't come up with all four of those balls, but you are doing it this year. The Kenyon Drake 96-yard touchdown pass. There's just so many things. Cam Wake, 7.5 sacks during this 6-game win streak. So many things that this team is doing. And look, we haven't even touched on Anthony Steen, Craig Urbick, the offense Sam Young, Marquise Gray, and Dominique Jones at tight end. I mean,
we were talking before. We were talking before going on the air and looking at this roster, and it's you could make a pretty good argument that this roster is not as talented as last year's roster, where you lose Olivier Vernon, where you lose Lamar Miller, where you lose Brent Grimes,
Jordan Cameron isn't even healthy this
exactly.
year.
I mean, so this team really isn't as loaded as it was last year, but they found a combination of guys, coaches, guys that believe, and guys that are going out and making plays.
Yeah, it's incredible, Bo, because I really did not see this team winning in this fashion.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about going to a running game, whether you're talking about winning with backups, whether you're talking about winning with defense, special teams, on the road. I mean, just look at all the things that this team has overcome, and you got to take your hat off to them. I don't know how this season is going to end as far as is it going to end in a playoff berth, but you got to be happy, right?
Yeah.
You got to be happy.
Well,
with what you've seen
I
so
think
far.
I think even if you're the most pessimistic Dolphin fan, you've got to see some optimism moving forward just by the way this team has played and by what the coaching staff has been able to get out of this football team and what they've been able to do to elevate the level of plays pretty much across the board when it comes to players in this football team. You're watching the Audible. If you're watching us on Periscope, you can send your questions via Twitter. Just hashtag the Audible. You can see us on a rebroadcast starting tomorrow on the Miami Dolphins Facebook page and on MiamiDolphins.com. And if you're a Twitter person, you want to keep up with Chris Perkins, and you should each and every day, at Chris Perk. Get you his Twitter page, and usually he shows some girls in scantily clothed outfits. But that's just something. That's just a bonus. That's a bonus for you. Little news today: the Dolphins released Leon Orr. He was arrested or pulled over the weekend or the other day with some illegal substance, so he's out. But some good news: Brandon Albert, Laramie Tunsil, both back practicing. That's good news for this weekend. Kenyon Drake, Devontae Parker, Earl Mitchell, and Jelani Jenkins were working on the side with trainers throughout the course of the day. So that's kind of where we are as far as personnel and whether they're going to be available. The good news to me, the best news is that Brandon Albert and Tunsil look like they're going to be back for Sunday's game.
Yeah, huge for a number of reasons, Bo. Maybe the primary reason is just to stabilize that offensive line again. Baltimore is a team, this is the fourth consecutive year that these teams have played. Baltimore is 2-1. Baltimore has 13 sacks on Ryan Tannehill, Bo, in those 3 years. And they really boned up in 2013, 6 sacks, 2014, 6 sacks. Last year, just 1. But Elvis Dumerville, Terrell Suggs, that's a huge combination.
Great group of linebackers in there.
Right, exactly. And even Timmy Jernigan from the inside, 5 sacks, I believe. So having Laramie Tunsil and Brandon Albert back, just a number of reasons, aside from them being 2 of your best players, regardless of position, number of reasons why that's crucial to get them back this week.
Let's get some of the questions from the watchers here. I don't ever really call them listeners, watchers. I'm not sure we're
right, patrons. Right? I don't. What do you call them? I don't,
my boys. That's who it is. My boys. Questions from and my ladies out there. And I'll just shortchange you. And I got Game New Jersey. We have not won 7 in a row since 1985. I don't know if it's 1985 or whatever, but I remember we went 11-0 one year and lost to San Diego.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
This guy spent too much time in Tijuana that night. That's a story for a different time.
That's right, but you got back.
Got back for game time. Made it back for game time. Right. King Edlin, having Albert and Tunsil possibly in the lineup this week, huge against the Ravens. Do you agree? Absolutely, no doubt. Having those guys. Look, Brandon Albert, to me, I've gained so much. I always liked him as a player.
Right.
Always liked him as a guy. I've gained so much respect for him this year. Coming back in San Diego after dislocating his wrist, getting a cast on, going back out and playing. And then in L.A., heck, it seemed like he spent half the time on the field, kind of cheering his guys on, trying to get them going. So, this is a guy that wants to get out and play as much as he can. So that's good news. Tunsil, good news. Get those 2 guys back together. And Anthony Steen's been doing a good job at the center position. Obviously, you'd love to have Mike Pouncey back there, but feel pretty good about those guys coming back. We touched on that already a little bit. Twitter, the Ravens could force us to throw the ball, but Tannehill can handle the pass. What do you think?
I don't think that's a bad thing. Well, number one, you don't want the Ravens to force you to throw the ball. You want to throw the ball off of play action, and because you choose to throw the ball because you see an opportunity. If you're forced to throw the ball, it's not as bad as it is as it was in previous seasons where you were like, oh, now they're one-dimensional.
But if you're forced to throw the football, that's it. I mean, especially with this group that can rush the passer the way they can rush the passer with different guys, and you put yourself in, if you're going to be in that situation, you're going to be in 3rd and long, 2nd and long, and 2nd and extra long, and those things where these guys are coming at you. It's going to be, look, you have everybody 100% healthy up front. It's a task.
Right. And the good thing is that now for the Dolphins, you're seeing all 3 receivers involved in the passing game. Jarvis Landry used to be the safety blanket, but now in the fourth quarters especially, Kenny Stills, Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker, all involved,
all options, and hey, let's not forget Deion Sims.
Right?
Add Deion Sims in there. He's become a very, very capable and a kind of a comfort guy for Ryan Tannehill to throw the football to.
You don't want Baltimore to force you to be one-dimensional. But Bo, even last week, Jay Ajayi, the 45 yards rushing, but he had 18 carries, which keeps the play action in play. That there's that threat of the run. So hopefully the Dolphins aren't forced to pass, but they can pass as an option and use the pass as a weapon and not as your only necessity.
This last game against the 49ers threw the kitchen sink at the running game. They weren't going to let the Dolphins beat them running, so the Dolphins go over the top, and they're able to do that when they had to. A lot because of those receivers. I mean, so you kind of getting around to that, you need to have Devontae Parker. He's got to be healthy and able to play in this game because he's really become a linchpin for that passing game, opens it up for the other guys, and really gives those options. But the other thing I like about the fact that the 49ers threw everything they could at this football team to keep them from running, and the Dolphins weren't successful running the football as much as they'd like to be. But you know what? Still in the fourth quarter, after you went to the air and you were successful, they still stayed with the run, still kept them honest, forced them to stay in there and do that. So I think the Dolphins, I don't know what the situation is going to be through the next handful of games. But the one thing I feel comfortable about is they're going to keep running the football fourth quarter just to keep people honest and make sure they have to respect that running game. And I think that those guys want to pin their ears back. Kind of makes them hesitate just a little bit.
Exactly. I think it was 26 carries for 97 yards, 3.7 per carry. So, the 3.7 is not great, but 26 carries for 95 yards, but the 26 carries, that's the key, Bo.
Yeah, exactly. What's the biggest matchup problem Miami will face against the Ravens? Well, Look, they've got a very talented secondary.
Yeah.
Smith is practiced this week.
Yep.
So he's probably going to be back. Their cornerback, who's missed, I think, the last 2 games. Eric Weddle back there. Yep. They got Elam back there when he comes into play at the hard hitter. So first of all, I think their secondary is going to be tough. Is going to be tough, and then protecting Ryan Tannehill against some linebackers that are very, very good when it comes to rushing the passer. To me, that's the matchup they've got to try to find a way to win.
Yeah, it's a couple of interesting things here, Bo. Baltimore is number 1 against the run, 74.9 yards per game. So again, this is the second time you go up against the number 1 run defense because the Jets were. I'm interested in Marshall Yanda, the all-pro right guard for Baltimore against Ndamukong Suh.
Yep.
And I watched this matchup last year. Ndamukong Suh got the better of him. This is an epic level clash, Bo, of two of the best at their position in the NFL. I watched last year, and I watched Ndamukong Suh beat Zach Martin for the Dallas Cowboys and Marshall Yanda. I'm very interested in this matchup. If Suh is Suh, he's going to cause a lot of problems for Baltimore against the run and the pass. But you talk about 2 just heavyweights, 2 of the best at their position. I know watching interior line is not sexy, but that's going to be a key matchup for the game and a fun matchup.
Well,
to watch.
look, if you think watching the interior line is not sexy, just watch that last play against the 49ers.
Right, exactly,
that's a pretty sexy play, right?
Yeah,
that's a pretty sexy play right there.
Kaepernick wasn't feeling too sexy after that, but that guy, he can control the game.
Yeah, really, no
you
doubt.
remember when Baltimore had Haloti Ngata and the Dolphins had to handle him.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
Yeah, this game, that interior line play is always crucial.
It's funny. I still hear from people that go, Suh's not worth the money. I tell you, that guy's playing at he's playing at another worldly level right now.
That guy is absolutely balling, Bo. And look, you just watch this guy when you DVR the game. Just go back and watch like 2 series, and you watch how often Ndamukong Suh either holds his ground or penetrates.
Well,
2 guys on him.
He's
holding right. He penetrates a lot.
And you
move this guy.
You see that play where the quarterback hands the ball underneath a little underneath handoff to the running back, and Suh's got the guy 3 yards in the backfield.
Correct.
Now that guy's got to figure out another path. That's gone. And that's what penetration does to you. For a defensive tackle, you don't have to make the tackle to make an impact on a play. And I think that's why some people don't think that Suh is as impactful as he should be, and I tend to think the opposite. So at SoCal Casual, every team faces injuries, but this year our depth has improved, allowing us to keep relevant. I don't think there's any question. And to me, the biggest surprise in the ability of the depth of this football team to me has been in the secondary. The cornerbacks, you lose Brent Grimes to free agency. You lose Xavier Howard to an injury after he came in and looked like he was going to be a special cornerback, and hopefully he'll be back in a couple weeks. You lose Rashad Jones, and you're sitting there going, "Oh man!" You sent bench by and you're sitting there going, "Oh man, what are we going to do?" But these guys have whatever they've done, coaching wise, playing wise, challenging players out there. I think they've done a great job, and so I think that's. That shows you the depth there that you didn't think was going to be there. And then you just go down and look at that offensive line with Sam Young and Urbick and Steen and what they've been able to do. And I said this on the show the other day, by getting rid of Billy Turner and Dallas Thomas, you actually improved the depth on your offensive line. By getting guys back there, they're going to battle and play better than those guys did. Yeah,
and look, Bo, when you look at that secondary also, you got Bobby McCain at the nickel, but look at the guys.
Look at Bakari Rambo. He wasn't even on a roster 3 weeks ago.
Exactly, and all the while they're going through bodies, right? Chimdi Chekwa is in and out. Chris Culliver in and out. Benet Ben-Wickery in and out. It's amazing that they've held up. The number of bodies that they've gone through, and man, I mean, my hat's off to them again. They have found the answer in the nickel defense. From the regular, I'm trying to get this right. Donald Butler. And Neville Hewitt and Issa come out, and then Bakari Rambo and Jelani Jenkins and Bobby McCain come on, and so you've even found answers there. Like you're putting in McCain and Bakari Rambo, and a few weeks ago you weren't sure if those were the answers. So hats off to them. You're right. The secondary, they found a lot of answers.
A lot of things that they do is they give players confidence. You remember in San Diego, Bobby McCain had a rough game out there. And a lot of teams said, hey, Let's find some other way to do. They just stay behind him. They believe in him. They work with them. Hey, let's make up for the mistakes that you made, and let's play on.
And we're saying that with Jakeem
Grant, same kind of thing. And even this week, they asked Coach Gaze, "Are you gonna do something?" He goes, "No, he's our punt returner next week." So
Juwan James came back in after being benched for overtime in Cleveland. He's right back in there at right tackle. So
you're right. I mean, they've done a good job in handling that. Let me see. At Twitter Fiscal, Ajay went off on another top running. Ajay went off on my man Leon back there. Come on, man. Leon, what are you? What?
I got some typographical errors there, Bo.
I got a Cuban guy back there and a great guy, but he writes Spanglish.
Right.
If you're in South Florida, everybody, a ton of people that speak Spanglish.
Of course.
Well, he writes Spanglish.
He writes it.
Yeah.
Oh man, see, Leon,
So come on, Leon.
You're better than that. You're better than that.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
All right,
he's not better.
He gives up. You broke him, Bo.
Hey, bro, I can't. Hey, Twitter Fiscal, I'd love to answer your question, but I have no idea what it is. At Chev46NH, they've already turned the corner. If they should beat the Ravens, we just might be contenders. Well, I don't know what contenders you're talking about, but I know this. Look, if you can get in the playoffs, strange things can happen in the playoffs. But I think right now for this football team. If you're outside of that building, because that building is a 1 week at a time building,
it is.
They're looking at, hey, this game, I don't care who we play next, I don't care what's going to happen down the road. But if you're outside this building, I think you're saying, hey, look, let's finish this season off strong. Let's win some of these games. If we happen to make the playoffs, that'd be great. But I think it's just about playing the way they've played in these last 6 games throughout the rest of the season, and then let the chips fall where they may.
Boy, Bo, I think they need to make the playoffs to have a successful season. You can still have a good season. I mean, let's face it, if you finish 10-6 and you miss out, you've had a good season. Right. But I still think for it to be a successful season, I know you started 1-4, but coming in, you were 6-10 last year. You weren't that far off. You were, but you weren't. I think playoffs is a success, but you can still have a good season short of playoffs. I know everybody's shooting for the playoffs, right?
No question about that.
You haven't turned a corner yet, but you're peeking around it, Bo. You're kind of, peeking around it.
To me, Chris, it's not so much, just the fact they've won games. It's more the fact that you're seeing an organizational shift.
Correct.
This organization inside that locker room, there is a shift in there. That's headed in the positive direction. So that's kind of the if nothing else, when this season's over, you go, hey, they're headed in the right direction. I'm like everyone else. I'd love to see them in the playoffs. No question about that.
Let me ask you this before we get to one more question.
If they go to the playoffs.
So there you go. It's all about you, right? It's all about you,
it's not all about me, but something's about me.
That's right.
Usually about me, it comes down to a little bit of
That's right. That's right. Do the Dolphins now have a system that they can recruit to? And I mean, as far as the running game and those type of offensive linemen where you're not necessarily looking for 4 left tackles on the offense, you're looking for do you recruit to this system now, or do you have to wait till the end of the season and see, does this really serve us well?
Well, usually when you're recruiting these guys, a lot of it comes down to these guys talking about guys on the team that they know.
Right.
And you get the, hey, what's this guy like? Oh man, you're gonna like this guy.
Right.
I mean, there's gonna be a lot of that going on during the offseason, during this free agent signing period. Hey, you're watching the Audible. If you're watching us on Periscope, you can send your questions in. Just hashtag the Audible. You can see us on a rebroadcast on the Miami Dolphins Facebook page beginning tomorrow morning, and you can see us on MiamiDolphins.com. All right, let me see. At Hooked Up Joe, if we can get back Albert and Tunsil, then we stand a good chance. Steen is doing fine. I agree with him. We talked about that a little bit, and I do agree with that. D. Dalton, at D. Dalton, is Devontae going to play on Sunday? That's a big question right there. He came down hard on his back. And look, not for nothing, the guys have been doing good things for him, but Devontae hasn't shown you that he's one of those guys that wants to fight through injuries and get out on the football field.
Yeah, well,
that's a concern.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we did ask Adam Gase about that today, because Adam Gase was saying we want to take it easy with Devontae. We know that he's hurt. And Gase was asked, he said, we went through this a little earlier and you were a little skeptical of Devontae's toughness. Where is he now? Gase said, look, from what I've seen for the past 3 weeks, he's passed the test. Yeah. So I know, maybe he's not totally past that hurdle, but I think Adam Gase feels a lot better about Devontae and playing with Payne and his toughness and all that.
I think this injury that he got is not like a hamstring,
correct?
Where you're not going to run down and you're going to make it worse. Yeah. It's one of those things that you got to deal with pains. Yep. At Kylish, why has Ajayi not run as well in the last couple of weeks? Well, San Francisco, I mean, they clearly sold out. They weren't going to let the Dolphins. They weren't going to let them run the ball.
Safety help back. It was just like whatever y'all want to do on the outside with these receivers, that's fine, but you're not running the ball.
Against the Rams, another very tough
Rams,
defense.
Same thing, right.
And Rams did a lot of different movement inside the line of scrimmage, stunting guys, doing things to cause problems. Same as San Diego, and they ran pretty well or better against San Diego. But
and Jay's yards per carry has stayed, pretty good.
Right.
He's 5.3 for the season. I think he was 4.2 last game or whatever it was. So
he's getting the yards per carry, but it's you kind of get on that run where you're 200 yards back-to-back weeks, another 100 yard, and you kind of get spoiled with that. But I think he'll.
The other team says that's
that's enough of that.
Right.
At Benedict Cumberbatch, Bo, can our defense make Flacco very uncomfortable on Sunday? Well, I think they've got to, And Flacco's a guy, look, he's certainly not Colin Kaepernick when it comes to running with the football, but he certainly is a guy that can get out of the pocket and extend plays if he has to do it. But I'm with you. I think they've got to make him uncomfortable. I think they've got to make every quarterback they play from here on in uncomfortable in the pocket.
Yeah, and with Cam Wake and Ndamukong Suh, Andre Branch, you got to feel good about their chances. I've got to look at Flacco's sacks, I think maybe 23 or something like that. Top half of the league, excuse me. So you can get to him.
Yeah.
And again, Cam Wake, I believe 7.5 sacks in these 6 games. You can count on Cam. Yeah. He's a grown man.
Your favorite guy that comes in and watches us every day at 38, Double D Lover.
Here we go, baby.
Every day. He's good. He comes in every day. He usually has good questions. Bo, as our playoff expectations as fans intensify, please elaborate on the players' feelings. Well, I think the players are doing what they've got to do. They've got to play. Hey, fans, be my guest. Look ahead, speculate, start writing down, well, these guys do that, the Jets, the Bills, the this and that, Arizona. But these guys are doing what they need to do. They need to take it one game at a time and just go out and play your football game and worry about the next one after that. Because if you start looking ahead, then you start forgetting about the game you're playing. And I think this staff, every staff says the same thing.
Right.
What I get it from is when I talk to these players, because you can pull a player on the side and go, hey, come on, look, we're not even, and they've bought into that theory of let's just play one game at a time. Yep. Let's play the best game we can play this Sunday, and we'll worry about the next Sunday a week from now.
I've been amazed, Bo, that like you say, a lot of times it's just, yap, one game at a time, and then you'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, well, in 2 weeks we got this game. And these dudes are really genuinely 1 week at a time, one of the few teams that I've covered that is genuinely one game at a time. It's working for them. So, Lover, 38 Double D Lover, don't worry. They're going to be all right from that standpoint.
All right. Twitter, does Miami get the respect they deserve in the league and the media? I think they're starting to get it. I think this week, kind of on Monday morning, watching around, bouncing around, NFL Network, Sports Center, all those things, you're starting to see a lot more Dolphin information in there.
It's coming around,
But it's still speculative. They still don't believe it. They still don't believe it.
And you know what? This is not a sexy team from a national standpoint. The Giants are on their 6-game win streak, and they've got Odell Beckham Jr. Plus they're in New York. Jack Del Rio out in L.A. and the Raiders are kind of this out of nowhere 9-2 team. There's other storylines. I was saying today, to me, the Dolphins, as far as that national appeal, the sexy team, they're kind of like Atlanta was last year with the 5-0 start, where it was like people were like, but right, you have Julio Jones, but and I think that's where the Dolphins are. Don't worry about all that mess. I know a lot of times fans are worried if the announcer is on their side, or they perceive, or if ESPN and Fox and CBI are talking about, they don't worry about that. I mean, it's about this team, and the players don't care about that. So it's just going to be it's going to be slow because this isn't a sexy. If Jay Ajayi was still putting up 200-yard games, I guarantee you Peter King and everybody from Sports Illustrated would be down here. Yeah. Be patient. People will pick up on the Dolphins at some point.
Yeah, we just need to get away from Steve Tasker calling the games.
So is that a bad?
It's not. Steve Tasker's a good guy, but he's not on the A team.
Oh, okay.
You know
I got you. Okay,
you see Steve Tasker go, okay, here we are again. Bottom of the barrel.
I got you.
El Chapo Jr. Who do you expect to be covering Mike Wallace? I think whoever he lines up on.
I think so too. We've seen Byron Maxwell shadow receivers, but it's been bigger guys. Terrell Pryor, Brandon Marshall, Kenny Britt. Yeah, I think it'll be whatever side Wallace.
By the way, I was surprised when we were in LA how big Kenny Britt is.
I was too. You know, he's a big, thick dude, man.
And I'm just sitting on the sideline before the game, watching him come out and in pregame warm. I go, man, this dude's just a big dude right here. You know,
and that's kind of the situation. Talking to Vance Joseph, that they want to use Wallace to ISO those guys. Wallace is not a. They want to use Maxwell. Mike Wallace is not that guy. No. He's a speed guy, so Lippett will be fine with him.
Yeah. At Light on the Dome, is Flacco an elite quarterback, and is Tannehill a good comparison? I think they're. Look, obviously Flacco's got a Super Bowl in his back pocket, and you can't say anything about that. But as far as where those guys rank, I would say they're probably pretty close right now, Perk, no?
Yeah, pretty close. The playoffs separated, but just a 16-game regular season, I haven't been that impressed with Flacco.
No.
Flacco is money in the playoffs, especially on the road, where he defies the odds. But a 16-game regular season, Flacco is not that special. One Pro Bowl, maybe two, but that's not the magic of Joe Flacco. Because he's gotten to the playoffs, and not necessarily because of him. You've had good run game, good defense.
Look, he's been a good. He's
a good quarterback.
Yeah,
and probably better than Tannehill, but not a whole lot better until you start talking postseason, which Ryan hasn't had a chance to experience.
At Duke Dennis, great opportunity for the rookie wide receivers to step up. Are you confident in Carew? Well, Carew had a chance to come in the other day. Did a good job, made a play, and we haven't seen him out in the field very much. I think he's got to work on his route running a little bit, but certainly, Devontae Parker. I know he's not a rookie, but to have him as healthy for a good part of this season, I think you're seeing some good stuff there. Obviously, you're seeing what kind of player he is, but Carew, I'm confident in Carew, but I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him have another offseason of working on what he needs to get done. Yeah. At Smurf DeGuy, can Deion Jordan make an impact this season? Well, I've put my vote in. I don't think he's going to make any impact whatsoever. I just don't see it. So I'm going to pass off. I'll pass that on to you, Perk.
I don't see it. Yeah. Vance Joseph said he's back at practice for the first time in almost 2 years. Strangely enough, I don't want to, jump the gun here, but you do have a roster spot with Leon Orr gone now, but I do not think that's going to Deion Jordan.
But I mean, look, when you've seen him a lot, you see him walking around, you see him out there. Do you think he's ready to play football right now? No. I think all it takes is someone's been around football with eyes to look at him walking around going, this guy he ain't ready. So I wouldn't expect him to make an impact this season. And you know what? I may be surprised to see him on this roster next year, to be honest with you.
I've got it.
I don't know about that. Yeah. One last question. You're at Fins Up. Out of our six wins, which game was the most exciting? Wow, that's a tough one to pull out there. You got the Kenyon Drake Jets. Touchdown against the Jets. You've got Kiko Alonso's interception for the pick six against San Diego, and then you got the tackle by Sue and Kiko to save this game.
And look, I don't discount the 4 interceptions in the fourth quarter against Phillip Rivers, San Diego. Boy, I like road game. I think I'm going to take San Diego.
I'm with you.
Because you're going against Phillip Rivers, you're on the road.
Yep. And Phillip Rivers was lighting it up pretty good through the most of that game.
He was. So I'm going to go with that San Diego game.
I'm going to go with it, but I'll tell you, all those games have been, they've all been pretty exciting. So anyway. Perk, we're through with another one here. Pleasure having you, my man.
These things go by fast.
They do. Chris Perkins, you can catch him in the South Florida Sun Sentinel. You can catch him at Chris Perk on your Twitter feed and check out what's going on there. And you can catch us here on the Audible on Friday. We'll be back at 4:30. I believe it will be another epic Joe Rose appearance here. That's a whole different. That's a whole different animal.
Right. Joe, man, you got to shut Joe up, right?
Leon, you gonna do better next time? No, he ain't gonna. He just giving up.
He
just giving up. Out of hell with it. Out of hell. He's waving the white flag. That's the best I got, and that's all you're getting. That's the best we got, and that's all you're getting today. We'll see you next time.